Gentlemen, and Jingle Bells Forever. An American Christmas, arranged by Robert W. Smith. Some of the most popular Christmas selections of all time are included in this delightful arrangement of A Most Wonderful Christmas. Robert Sheldon has included Winter Wonderland, I'll Be Home for Christmas, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, and It's a Most Wonderful Time of Year. In this very tasteful arrangement featuring swing selections and jazz-inspired ballads, A Most Wonderful Christmas, arranged by Robert Sheldon. You know, I've never made a secret of the fact that I was never really a big fan of Christmas when I was a youngster or when I was in the military, largely because I spent 12 of the 26 years underwater during Christmas. So it wasn't really Christmassy. However, 100 years ago when Rick and the community band invited me to start being the MC, 100 years ago, it was near that. The ocean was freshwater, Moby Dick was a minnow, who keeps track? But the point of the story is, a spark ignited at that last concert, the first year, when I stood up here and listened to the amazing talent that we have. And it doesn't matter today whether there's mud on the ground and rain falling or snowbanks up to your waist. The Christmas concert is what starts that Christmas feeling for me, and hopefully they're doing the same thing for you tonight. Mary, Did You Know, is a Christmas song addressing Mary, Mother of Jesus, with lyrics written by Mark Lowry in 1985. And the music was written by Buddy Green in 1991. The song, which encourages contemplation of the relationship between Mary and her son, has been both praised and criticized by theologians. It looked like something different there for a second. However, yeah, that must have been it. It was the tear in my eye. However, it's gone on to become a modern Christmas classic, recorded by hundreds of artists over the years across multiple genres. Several recordings have even reached the top 10 in various Billboard charts. We hope that you enjoy our rendition, Mary, Did You Know, arranged by James Meredith. sons. In any family where there's multiple sons, each of them always assumes and always hopes that they're the favorite son. And over the years, you can see him, he's cringing because he knows what's going to come. Over the years, we have been given gifts every year, Rick and I, from Norma. And each of us stayed pretty much in step with the tartan, the tie, the vest, the scarf, which Rick does have. So it was just assumed that we were equal in some way, and there wasn't one favorite son. Well, a couple years ago, when I had my little pig Peppa in the Christmas parade, Norma caught up to our float, and she slipped me a little something from the birthplace of our tartan, Edinburgh, Scotland. And I have hesitated to bring it out because I didn't want it to be painfully obvious who the favorite son is. So we'll just let that percolate for a minute. The familiar Celtic tune used in the carol "What Child Is This" takes on a folk dance character here that really gets whipped into a frenzy. Active woodwind parts and folk drum effects build the momentum throughout. Celtic Carol arranged by Robert W. Smith. You're jealous already, aren't you?
I knew he had that. And I knew one of these days it will come out. I'm just surprised it took so long to do it.
The appeal of the Caribbean holiday is just too appealing to resist, even for a snowman. This fun-filled setting takes everybody's favorite snowman to the sandy beaches of the Caribbean, complete with this characteristic rhythms and relaxed attitude. What a delightful twist. Don't worry, even if he melts, he'll be back again someday. Frosty's Caribbean Holiday, arranged by Ralph Ford. Now, just in case anybody got too warm in the Caribbean, we're going to head off to Spain for this one. Christmas in Spain is specifically written for concert band and features elements of Spanish melodies and rhythms, while also keeping the festive nature of the holiday season. Christmas in Spain by Kevin Day. Now, just a piece of trivia here before we get rolling into the next song. If I lend you my microphone for a few minutes, wouldn't it be fair for you to lend me the little pointy stick for a few minutes?
You can actually do what they call it.
You know, I never actually had to know a lot and look at where I am anyway. So, pointy stick works. You guys knew what I was talking about, right? Pointy stick? Yeah, but there's a time delay. I was already out of there by the time I got to film. Ready? Okay. Yeah. So a Christmas song, sometimes known as Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire, was written in 1945 by Bob Wells and Mel Torme. According to Torme, the song was written during a blistering hot summer in an effort to stay cool by thinking cool. The Nat King Cole Trio recorded the song first in 1946. That recording was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1974. Since then, many other artists have recorded this popular Christmas song. Tonight, you will hear our very own Rick Berdor singing this favorite. The Christmas Song by Mel Torme and Robert Wells, arranged by John Higgins. You want me to leave this on for you? Or?
Please.
Okay, I'll be right over here if you change it on. Very well.
It's hard to find good help these days. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos. Everybody knows a turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. Tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way. He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh. And every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas to you.
ONOFF. That brings us to halfway, so please take a few minutes, get up, stretch.